Hey, doing this a little different this time. Had our Friday Zoom training. I am editing out our Q&A discussion to keep it down a little bit shorter for you to get the bulk of the information. We did have some really great information on the Q&A, so if you would like the full recording, you're welcome to email me at support@agentleader.com, and I can send you a link for the full recording. But for here, I'm going to edit out the beautiful faces of my my agents that were on the call and just give you the bulk of the information so that you can learn a little bit more about influence and how to convert more buyers and sellers. All right, so enjoy. I'll see you next time.
A lot of the very successful realtors, what you'll find with them, high producing, right? And you're wondering how the heck are they getting so many sales? What you'll find with them is they're very good at influencing people. And for most of them, it's just a natural talent that they have. I'd have to say, and I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. There's things I've had to learn, but a lot of it does tend to come natural. So just because it's not a natural thing that you may have or that you're really good at, that doesn't mean that you can't learn how to do it. Just some people are naturally a little bit better at it than others. So when we talk about influence, maybe influence is the better word. Remember last week I was talking about manipulation. Influence would be the better word instead of manipulation. So it is your ability to communicate to others and influence their decisions in a positive way, of course. So that's the positive way of saying we're manipulating the situation, because that's a negative way to say it. So most of the high performing realtors, they all have this, but a lot of them it's a natural ability. Okay. This is important for me because I recognized probably a couple years into my business that what I would say to people, they would take as true. And I started thinking, I better be very careful at what it is that I'm saying, because I have the ability to influence them. So if I say it, they're going to believe it. And that can be a scary thing. That's a responsibility that we have as agents, is that we have to make sure that what it is that we're saying, of course, isn't just manipulating people, but influencing them for good, to help them or help a situation. So we're going to talk about 3 different ways that we can influence people. And then I am going to send you again this week. I'm going to send you out some homework. It's like total thought homework again, where you have to sit and mull over it to come up with some answers. But it is going to be how kind of to help you work through how you can influence someone else. So by contemplating how you've been influenced, or really thinking about people that have been an influence to you, breaking it down to why they are, and kind of those pieces that go with it, to help you recognize maybe how you have influenced someone, and then how you can in your job be able to influence. So does that kind of resonate? You all with me?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll send that out. Rhonda's hopping on here. Okay. So the 3 different ways that we influence. So first, we are going to offer another perspective. And I'll give you some real estate examples with this, right? So let's say, okay, so let's say we have a roof issue, okay? And you have a client that is panicking because they have a bad roof, or they're purchasing a home that has a bad roof, okay? So you have to be able to take that situation and control it. Now, are you really controlling the situation? I mean, kind of and kind of not. It's not your roof. You're not the seller, but you can try to kind of control that as much as possible. So the way that we would do that is by we would calm the fears of the client and let them know everything can be fixed, right? So if we have a roof issue, if it's the shingles, not the trusses, but if it's the shingles that need to be replaced, it's okay. That's fixable. Why don't we work through that with the seller and see what we can get them to do to be able to get that fixed? Okay. Kind of a simple example, but you're going to have, I just had this, oh my gosh, I had the client from like, where this last couple months, I had a really tough one. And she was so OCD. She is very OCD. And her OCD can really get her out of control very quickly. So trying to manage her emotions and influence her to keep her calm was a very important part of my job. It had nothing to do with the selling the house. It had to do with keeping her from freaking out and everything going sideways, right? So the reason why this skill, as we're talking about it, is so important is because you want to, as you attract those buyers or those sellers, part of like the hard part of this is keeping it together, making the deals not fall through. You're putting all that time and energy into them. You want to make sure that you're going to see them through to the end, right? So we have to find those ways to be able to hold it together, even if it's difficult, work through the mud of all of it and keeping the clients calm. That's your influence that you are going to have on those clients, is your composure of yourself, but then helping them by maybe giving them some other perspectives about the situation to keep them calmed down. Okay. So ways you can say this, have you ever thought of, is a good sentence to say, have you ever thought of it this way? Oh yes, the roof is not in good shape. However, if we can have the seller fix it, you're going to get a new roof, right? Or even if the buyer is asked to pay maybe half of the new roof, oh, that's great. You 5 years down the road don't have to pay for the entire roof yourself. You only have to pay for half of it, and now you get a brand new roof. So that's great. That bright side of things and kind of flipping the perspective is what's very helpful in the situation. So offering a separate perspective or a different perspective to the client can really help change their way of thinking. Okay, so challenging them. So a lot of times challenge is not going to come when you are in contract. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times the challenge that we'll provide to the client, that's going to come when we're actually like in the shopping phase. Where I see this most is where you're going to get the client that is, okay, I'll give you a really great example. I have got a client who has 2 years worth of food storage, and she is trying to buy a house just to fit her food storage. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So the square footage isn't big enough. The bedrooms aren't big enough. The garage isn't big enough. I mean, there's always something that is wrong with every house. And in the small inventory market that we have right now, I'm like, dude, she's never going to find a house. So either I have to challenge her to think differently about maybe where she could put it. Could she, have an insulated garage? Could she convert a bonus room? Could she, trying to kind of solve that problem and challenge maybe the one direction that she's thinking is where we would go with that. So, or does she need to build a house because then she can build a room for all of her food? I'm like, this is nuts. This is the first time I've ever had this, but whatever. So maybe challenging the way that they're thinking. So you'll get them too, where they're really stuck on like, I have to have, this specific thing in a house, or the bedroom has to be exactly this specific size. And they'll get fixated on one specific aspect. And so then maybe challenging that thought, like, well, would you be able to downsize your furniture? Would you be able to, put some in a different room? Something of that sort, but just think of that in the challenge form of things, instead of the realtors that are less productive are the ones that are going to sit back and go, oh, let the client dictate to them. And the client's telling them, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what, and then they quickly will not have control of the situation. And if you don't have control, then you are more likely to lose that client. Because the second that they run into somebody who can solve their problem, who can challenge them and solve that problem, that's their new realtor. it doesn't take long. And I say that because I have done that with other people's clients when they're not under contract. I'm not stealing under contract clients, but people who have looked for homes for, a really long time, they can't find what they want. And then you help them think outside the box and challenge what they thought they really wanted. And all of a sudden we found them a house and closed in a week, or not closed in a week, but went under contract in a week. And they've been looking for months and not been able to find something, right? So challenging, what the potential in properties is, what the potential use might be for them, and even age of home. You get that with the age of home when people think, I have to have a new construction, or I have to have something that's, newer than 1975. Well, what if there's a 1960 and it's fully remodeled? Is that something that you might be interested in? So, you know how they say, I don't know, I don't usually use the phrase, but, like buyers are liars. Like, no, they don't necessarily know what they want. Some people do, but you always need to have that bit of challenge ready in case they actually don't know what's best for them. And because you have the experience of seeing every single home everywhere, right? Because you have that experience, then you can, then you're able to share that information with them, help them feel comfortable, a little bit more confident, and maybe making a different decision. So that's what we're looking for with that one.
I call it like the HGTV expectations. So many clients come out and they're like, well, I watch HGTV. I'm like, of course you do, and they have these expectations that aren't realistic for an actual home that you would purchase in real life.
Yep, that's right. Well, that Pinterest, you gotta love Pinterest. I'm like, get off Pinterest, or the House app. And a lot of, if you get like any kind of new construction or remodel situation or anything, they're going to show you these pictures, and you have to bring them back down to reality by saying, hey, that's a beautiful picture. Do you know the cost of that? Because they don't know the cost of it. So we love that it's beautiful and it would be wonderful to have, but you're in this budget. Is that going to fit within your budget? And challenging them, asking that question. You're not, I think where people also will go wrong with this is that they are being pushy or bossy. You don't want to be pushy or bossy and telling the client what you think that they want to hear. That's not what we're doing. So if you're trying to dictate to them, again, it's the same as being too passive and not saying anything. But if you are overzealous and pushy on them, they're not going to like that either, because you're not letting them discover for themselves what it is that they want by challenging them, by providing those questions that are going to help them self-discover what they actually might want or what actually would work for them. Okay. So, and this goes across the board with area, if they want to be in a certain subdivision area, sometimes school district, those can be real, particular, of course. What else? Size of home, size of bedroom, anything, any aspect. There is a flip to that. And you will quickly find, as you ask questions, you will quickly find what people really will give on and what they absolutely will not give on. There are some absolutes that if you ask more than one time, if you probably maybe pose the question 1 or 2 times and they fully shut you down, take that cue and understand that is a non-negotiable item. And so you have to do whatever they're asking, or find whatever it is that they're asking for, if it's realistic. Vicki, where we talk about when we give up on people and when we can't help them is, I'll have somebody call in. So, a lead from just online or something that found me, and they'll say, oh, I want 5 acres and a house for $200,000. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. That 100% does not exist. I can't help you with that. So I tried to talk to them, bring them to reality, help them understand this is exactly what's in the market. Let me send you what's on the market so that they can see what the prices are. Even maybe talk about different areas. send them things from different areas so they can see what's on the market and what the prices are. And if they can't come to that conclusion themselves, once you've talked to them about it politely, given them the information so that they can validate it themselves, a lot of people need that self-discovery. If they can't find that out themselves, like, I can't help you. At that point, they're wasting my time because I can't find what they're looking for ever. So sayonara, I'm moving on to the next client. You do need to definitely draw a line sometimes on those leads. It's usually just the online leads or people that call off your profile, or if you pay for any type of Zillow or Realtor.com or anything like that, you get those that aren't really realistic. And you can't help that, unfortunately. They have a pipe dream. Okay, so the third thing is role modeling, how to role model to the client. So within real estate, the way we would do this is by providing some sort of like testimonial to the client. So when you're being a role model to them, for example, I would say, so like I just met with the client this morning, and she showed me a picture of the window that's a new construction. And she showed me a picture on the exterior of the home where it's got the window, and then there's a little bitty gap in between where the siding comes up to the window. And she said, was that supposed to be caulked? And I said to her, well, I have a new home as well, and mine are not caulked. That there actually is a piece of metal flashing that's behind the window right there that flanges out. And then they put the vapor barrier over the top of that, or not vapor barrier, but whatever it is, the Tyvek over that. And then they put the siding. So it doesn't need to be caulked right there. And she's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, if I didn't have that kind of testimonial for her, some information, that can go sideways. She can start to panic about it. She was a little bit of a panicker too. So providing that kind of testimonial from examples of maybe what you've seen. Now, what we have to be careful of is we don't want to just give opinion like, no, I don't think it's a problem. Well, that doesn't help them feel comfortable if you just are trying to brush it off like it's not a problem. So I don't want to talk about it, or, acting like it's not a big deal is not the way to go. So we either find out the information about it if we really don't know ourselves, or if we have some sort of experience, then we can be able to share that experience with them, right? Become that role model of, oh, yep, I've done this before, and this is what happened when I did that. And then that will help institute that calm the fears, help them feel comfortable. And also, it's that testimonial that they have. And that will make them feel a lot more confident in what you're telling them, instead of just telling them something for no reason. So being a role model to them. And the more you do this, the more homes that you sell, the more people you come in contact, the more stories you will have to share. So you will be able to have a lot more of that information for them. And that is part of when we talk about, so like Marnie, right? You've sold 12 this year. You've had your license for a couple of years. When we talk about increasing our productivity, that is a key component to increasing the productivity as well. Because you need to retain, you need to pay attention. And if you have to take notes, some people, i.e. my husband, does not remember things very well. And so he has to write them down, or I have to provide them in written form if I'm trying to explain something to him sometimes. Because he just doesn't remember. Like I can remember, I don't know what it is. I can remember quite a lot of things. It's experiences. It's hard to forget experiences sometimes. But yeah, take notes. Keep a file system. If you've got it on, exteriors of homes or interiors, or what happens on inspections, or notes about insurance companies, notes about your lender, any of those things that you can't just remember, keep notes. Keep one notebook, I would say, maybe sectioned off for different topics, and then just write those notes in there. And every once in a while you can kind of, sift through them. Or if you think, oh my gosh, I've heard that before, that sounds familiar, go back and check through your notes to see if you've had that experience before. If you can impart some information onto your client, that's going to be really important. There's sometimes too, in that role modeling, it's helping them to see that there is a better or a different way, and that it's okay. that it doesn't have to be the way that they're thinking that it is. So you are showing by example how, the transaction can be different, or how, things can be fixed because you've had this experience before. The cost of things, this is really big too. So I always ask my clients if they have any work done on a home, say they did a remodel. Okay. And maybe I'm not even in the middle of selling their house, but just say that I know somebody that did a remodel and they kicked out and they added 1,000 square feet to it. I will ask them, what did it cost you? What was the cost of doing that? Or somebody decides to build a shop. I'll say, oh, what did it cost you to build the shop? And then I'll either mentally take a note or I will write that down so that I have an idea. So when a client, you're shopping, they look at a house that's too small and they're like, well, maybe we could add on. And you're like, well, my last client that added on, they added on 1,000 square feet and it cost them this much money. Just so that they have some sort of idea. And when you're doing this, you're providing all this value to your client. All the information that you're providing is value for them. So that's huge. That also helps establish an even tighter knit relationship with your client, which then leads to those referrals and repeat business, them coming back to you because crap, you're the one that knows everything. So they should come back and use you again because they don't trust anybody else. So you're building those levels of trust while you're selling to them, and they don't know it. That's the trick. It's not a trick, but it is a trick. They don't know that these little strategies of influence, that it's kind of like sucking them in to where they trust you, which is for good reason, right? But they trust you and they value your opinion, and so they'll come back to you because they value and trust your opinion. All of us will do it if you think about it, and as you go through the worksheets, you'll kind of start to recognize. There's certain people, they can tell me something, I don't have to go verify it. I trust what they say. But then there's some people, if you don't know them, and I'll give you this great example. I just actually had a piece of property. I needed an excavator to come take a look at it. Client wants to build on it. It's like the side of a cliff is what it is. I'm not comfortable with understanding or knowing, is that buildable and how would they excavate it? And I told my client, this is out of my realm and we need to call a professional. So I have one of my other clients that just got into excavating, which makes me a little nervous, but I wanted to give him a shot. So I'm like, yeah, great. Let's go ahead and meet the client out there and you can come take a look at it, give him your opinion, maybe give him some bits. So he met him out there. He couldn't tell him a price on the spot. He said he would get back to them with the price, and it depended on the specifics of what they wanted to do, even though they gave them a pretty good idea. He didn't have any other information for him. So it was like, well, that was useless because he just came out and said, yeah, you can move the dirt. He didn't have any more information. All right, so take two. I send or meet my other excavator out there that I trust. I don't ever even ask him for a bid when he does stuff for me because he's so honest. Meet him out there. He talks about exactly what you can do, some different ideas, gives a roundabout cost. Doesn't have to be exact, but gives a roundabout cost. So then the client has something tangible to think over. And then also goes into where you could put your septic and where the drain field would have to be and who we have to call. All this value and information. And guess who gets the job? The guy that provided all the information. So it's not that both of them can't move dirt. It's that the one can move dirt but didn't provide any added value. And the other one can move dirt and provided all this added value and the influence and kind of manage that expectation and made the client feel comfortable, and they're 100% full on ready to just hire him, and they're good with it. So that's kind of influence in a nutshell.
I hope you walked away with a few tools and concepts that you can use, implement, some actionable items for you to be able to implement in your business, to be a more influential agent with your clients, to keep that high retention level. And conversion level. If you would like the PDF that I talked about, you can send me a request at support@agentleader.com, or you can comment below and I will send you that worksheet so you can really dive in a little bit further to see where you might have some maybe weak spots that you need to improve upon so that you can be a more influential person. That's really going to help you to grow your business, help you to sell more homes, make more money. All right, so have a really great day. I will see you again. If you would like to participate in our Friday fundamental free Zoom call, it is Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You can sign up if you want to email me at support@agentleader.com. I will send you an invite to the private Facebook group where I post all that information. All right, have a really great day, you guys. Thank you.